Hi, how are you doing tonight? I'm making, as you all know, my name is David from my other video, and I'm making this video on Sunday night, 2 days before the election on November the 4th. And this is in response to this video by Demnitude Obama calls low taxes selfishness. It's not selfish. It's not, it's not selfish for the people, for 95% of the population to want a tax cut, and it's not bad for people making more than $250,000 to pay more in taxes to pick up 95% of the population, so they could be paying less and get on some kind of a savings streak, or to be able to pay their bills. Number one, people making $250,000 and upwards are rich. They can afford to pay 3% more. People making between 200,000 and 250,000, their taxes will stay the same. People making under $200,000 a year will pay less taxes. And when you have and especially the impact is going to be felt for people making under 50 to 45,000 dollars a year. 'Cause those are people like me that are struggling, and every week cannot save any money because of the skyrocketing inflation that is taking place in the past 5 years, with the cost of food going up, the cost of transportation going up, and the simple fact is that if you're not college educated, you ain't really gonna find that many high paying jobs. No. And even the people that are college educated, they're losing it, because the people at the top are now feeling what the people at the bottom are feeling. Because when and I'm gonna explain it simple as that. When you give the people at the bottom a break, where they end up paying less for goods and services and less taxes, that's money people at the bottom are going to have. They're going to take this money, they're going to spend it in stores for goods and services. Then simple fact is, the people at the top are going to go up and are actually going to end up making more than they were before. So I wonder, if Barack Obama gets elected president, the people at the top, even though they're going to be paying 3% more in taxes, they're going to actually, in the long run, going to end up making more, because more people at the bottom that are making 50,000 and upwards, with the money that these people are going to be saving, these are people that are going to be able to afford to hire Joe the plumber. Okay, number one. Number two, we need to get a Democrat back in the White House. Plain and simple, plain and simple. Every week after I buy a Metro card to get around with the buses and subways in New York, and I'm sure other people in other transit systems have had their fares go up in the past few years. It's costing $100 a month to get around, to buy to get put it plain and simple what the inflation has been. Back in 2002, it was possible to get a monthly unlimited use Metro card for the buses and subways in New York was only $67. Now, 2008, it's $82 a month. And a lot of people can't even get $82 a month saved up in one shot, because they gotta pay rent and all that. So it comes down to being able to pay 82 in one shot to get this cheaper, to be able to pay less, or not pay your rent, and and have a whole bunch of other trouble. So I'm stuck having to buy the weekly unlimited use Metro cards, which are $25 a week. I'm paying $100 a month just to ride the buses and subways in New York City. Okay? Which translates, without those fare increases, that's money I could have had saved. Number one. Number two, the reason why these fares are so high is because of the erosion of subsidies that have taken place under this Republican leadership that we have been under. Started with Ronald Reagan, with this UNPA chief, Ralph Stanley, who was nothing but a transit assassin, took away subsidies from mass transit, back in 2009, 2003, I mean 1983 and before, it was 50 cents, went up to 90 cents, now it's $2, okay? But of course, if I was to pay $2 every time I would get on a bus, I wouldn't be paying 100 a month, I'd be paying over 400 a month, just to ride the buses and subways, so I'm paying 100 a month. What used to be $67 back in 2002 is now 82 to 100 a month. The mass transit the mass transit subsidy cuts continued under George Bush the father, continued under our Republican governor George Pataki, and was cut even more by Giuliani. And now there's a $900 million deficit with a threat of mass transit cuts, which could possibly lead to no bus and subway service after 2:30 in the morning, and you're talking about possibly $125 a month for a weekly unlimited use Metro card, and and you're talking about what we're talking about here is economic disaster, because people that are poor are the ones that have to depend on these buses and subways, and we need a president that's going to put these subsidies back. Hillary Clinton has a plan to increase subsidies for mass transit. Plain and simple, McCain, if he gets in, he's going to veto it. Historically, transit fares have always been the cost of a slice of pizza, which is $3 a slice. McCain gets in, we're going to be paying that $3, which is simple. People that are poor cannot afford it, and we need a president that's gonna be for 95% of the population. Okay. Number two, we need our jobs back here again, this country, not in China. We need our goods made here. Tariffs need to be put back. We need free trade agreement with China needs to be abolished, and 60% of the tariffs on Chinese need 60% of the goods made in China need to have tariffs put on them to get these goods and industries back in this country where they belong, so we can get these high-paying jobs back. And that is the reason for the economic crisis that we're going through right now in this country, where people are losing their homes and people are having trouble paying their bills. And I know that because I'm having trouble just being able to pay my rent, being able to pay for my stuff that's in storage. Well, I'm having trouble paying it, and I'm always facing threats that my stuff is going to go to auction. Well, I'm barely paying it by the skin of my teeth, and I'm tired of this, and we need a change. We need to have Barack Obama in the White House and have a president that's going to be for 95% of the it's going to be for the lower middle class and the middle class, not just the top rich. Now to go even further, 80% people in Florida voted against Al Gore to put in George Bush. They did it thinking that they were going to get tax cuts. Well, my friends, those tax cuts only went to the rich corporations and people making over $250,000 a year. Giving tax cuts to people making under $200,000 a year, well, my friends, Republicans refer to that as communism. They refer to that as socialism, giving the people at the bottom a break. Time for a change. Get Barack Obama, vote for Barack Obama on Tuesday. Let's get a president that's going to be for 95% of the population, not just the top rich. Number two, I want to talk real fast about Barack. A lot of the cuts that the Republicans make, they make cuts to play around with your safety. 2 years before Hurricane Katrina, the Army Corps of Engineers wanted to strengthen those levees in New Orleans to try to prevent the disaster when Hurricane Katrina came. Bush refused the funding, the aftermath, and most of the people that got hurt over there were people that were poor. The grids got destroyed in the flood, and plain and simple, they just could not afford $250 for a deposit to rent a truck from Budget or U-Haul to be able to get their belongings and themselves out of there. Vote for Barack Obama. We're finally going to have a president that's going to make America great again, and we're being surpassed by every other country.